Paige Dimakos, the Cleveland Browns played Myles Garrett, a record-breaking deal, and then Myles Garrett turned around and said, I know who's going to be the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns in 2025. The Cleveland Browns sit at pick 2. We always talk about the Tennessee Titans at pick 1, Cam Ward. We talk about Shedeur Sanders going to the New York Giants at pick 3. But the Cleveland Browns could be that wild card team. I'm going to ask you, what do you think is going to be the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns?
So Myles Garrett really gifted us this topic today.
He did.
Right? He really did a nice thing in his interview. So shout out to NFL Network. He's on with Andrew Siciliano. Yep. And he's on camera, okay? And he's on camera, and he is somebody I think struggles with a poker face. Myles, no offense, please don't tackle me like you do tackle quarterbacks, okay? He very much gives away the fact that he has a very good idea about who's going to be quarterback 1, which none of us know right now, right? Deshaun Watson's still on an ACL injury, and that it would seem at this point that time has passed, right? I don't know how much more we're going to see of Deshaun Watson. So Myles Garrett was going to leave. Mm-hmm. Something happened. Insert conversation with ownership team. Signs big deal out of nowhere, right? We discussed on the show many times where we thought Myles Garrett would go.
We'll go, yeah.
And then he signed this deal out of nowhere, and it was a big surprise. So I think when I look at this situation, I wanted to talk this through with you because I feel like the whole draft community has kind of solidified this, hey, the Browns are going to take a non-quarterback. And I'm like, nah, I think they're going to take a quarterback.
So.
And I'm pretty certain that Myles Garrett has to know that they have a long-term plan, Keith, because if he didn't believe, he's 29. He's got a big chunk of his
He's been
elite,
in the NFL since 2016?
Since 2016. He's got a lot of his prime left, right? And I think that letter was heartfelt, and I think it was honest. He wants to win, and he wants to win a Super Bowl. So what does that mean? That means you have to have a long-term plan. So I think they draft a QB, and they go with one of Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. I have my thoughts, but who do you think that they would sign? Or do you think I'm totally off the reservation on all of this? Which is totally fine.
Yeah,
totally fine.
So when I heard this, right, with the Myles Garrett situation, you got to break down with the dynamics. I feel like it has to be a big splash. One, because Myles Garrett, he could get paid from anybody, right? 100%. Like, this is arguably the best player in the entire NFL, right? Mm-hmm. Character is through the roof, right? Play, everything
Disrupts
else.
everything on the field.
Yes, single-handedly wins games at the defensive end position.
Yeah.
So then you talk about Cleveland, right? Cleveland is not Arizona. It's not Phoenix, right? It is not a destination place by far. So in order to sit down with Myles Garrett, right, the money was one thing, but I think he was going to get paid from any and everybody who wanted him. They was going to pay him. They was going to cut the check, right? So the money, I believe, is not the number one thing. It has to be a splash guy. The only guy I could think of is Aaron Rodgers. I think they told him, we're going to go get Aaron Rodgers, and we're going to jump into this Aaron Rodgers conversation in a minute. But I think they're going to go get Aaron Rodgers, and then I think they're going to draft a rookie quarterback. That's what I think. Now, you want it to be potentially Shedeur Sanders,
baby.
And I want to see Shedeur. Like, personally, I want to see Shedeur in the big lights. I want to see him in the big
I get that you want to see him in the big lights, but can we, for a moment, assess the roster situation?
Okay, let's talk about it.
So let's say he does. So in this scenario, Aaron Rodgers is playing this year. Mm-hmm. So he gets a year of ice to learn. That, in general, ain't happening in New York. It's not happening.
No.
So
he's playing right away.
Correct. That with a coaching staff and a general manager that are absolutely playing for their lives. You know what happens when that happens? Bad decisions. Bad decisions. They're coming off of all-time embarrassment. And I get it. It's New York. But look at that division. You want any of that division? No, thank you.
So
thank you.
I make the same argument for Cleveland, right?
Why?
You don't want to play in the AFC North. You got Cincinnati. You
no
have
defense.
Pittsburgh.
Don't know who the quarterback is.
Baltimore.
Can't win a big game.
Oh, come on. That's 3 teams. That is 3 viable teams in the NFL.
Until I know who the quarterback is in Pittsburgh, I'm not sorry. Look at how Cleveland played them last year.
Yeah, of course.
Cleveland, these games are always close. Always close. And I ain't afraid of Cincinnati's no defense.
No,
they're going to put up 30 points.
Yeah.
Maybe.
but they running it back. You know that. Like
we'll
the AFC North is a good division.
Great division.
I'd rather play the NFC East than play the AFC North.
You'd rather play the Super Bowl champ Philadelphia Eagles?
That's one team. The rest of them,
NFC North, look, Jaden Daniels and that team that went to go.
Not worried about it.
Oh my!
Not worried about it.
Okay.
The Dallas Cowboys.
That's the only layup.
Not worried about it.
That's the only layup.
I'm not worried about them. So
okay. All right.
I'd rather do that. But going back to the Cleveland Browns, and because I know at some points that you want to be able to sell, right? So I'm gonna let you talk about the ownership part of it, and the arena, and kind of get into that conversation. Pitch me on why Shedeur Sanders should seriously consider the Cleveland Browns.
Okay, Mr. Sanders. Here's what's about to happen. Okay, first of all, every rookie dreams of the ability to have a redshirt year. Look at the biggest star in our game right now. You know what he got? A redshirt year. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what we're guaranteeing you. Exactly, because with Aaron Rodgers, he's coming in to play. He's not coming in to compete. That's not a signing that you do that for. So he comes in, he plays. Shedeur gets a redshirt year. He gets to get prepared, get ready, come into a system, know the system, execute the system. And oh, by the way, we're about to build a $2 billion, billion with a B, billion, just making sure everybody's catching that at home, the best stadium setup that the NFL will have, state-of-the-art, unbelievable stadium village. It's going to be like nothing you have ever seen before. And when you play for Cleveland, that's where you're going to be playing, baby. Oh, it sounds so good. So you got running backs. You got a good system. Stefanski runs a perfect system for Shedeur. Perfect system for Shedeur. And I can see it. And you got the best player in the NFL, Myles Garrett. Oh, by the way, on the opposite side of the ball. Sounds pretty good to me.
Okay.
Sounds pretty damn good to me.
Let's rolls, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm Shedeur, and I'm asking the question.
Yeah.
What's been different? Because Cleveland has sucked for a very long time. Every time we think they're good, they're bad. Every time we think they're bad, they're even worse, right? So what is different now? Like, tell me what's different to what am I buying into? Because, listen, everybody's going to have a new stadium at some point, right? Mm-hmm. What am I buying into to want to come suit up? Because I don't like the colors, honestly. The brown and orange, not great for me. Okay. So I don't know if aesthetically if it looked the best. You know what I'm saying?
Are we really doing the
color
game?
We're doing the whole 9 yards.
We're in kindergarten.
It's Cleveland. Colors. It's cold, right?
Okay.
It's cold. Right. It's gray. It's rainy. Why should I come to Cleveland?
Because we're buying into you. Shedeur, have you ever shied away from a challenge? Have you ever shied away from turning around a program? That is exactly who you are. And that is exactly what I expect you to do here in Cleveland. And when you do win and turn this around, you will be the most beloved athlete in the city of Cleveland, and LeBron James is going to be begging for your autograph. Oh. You heard that right.
I am laughing at this. This
is funny. A football town. Ohio is a football state, and nobody's going to give a rat's ass about the Cavs if they take that team to a Super Bowl. So you bet your ass, Shedeur, I know you can do this because you've done it everywhere you've been, and you've never shied away from a challenge, and your dad always said that too. So I expected that we're buying into you. That's what we're buying into. Oh, I like my pitch. I feel really good about it today.
So there's certain elements that sounds good, right? There's certain elements.
I saw the eyes light up. I was like, he ain't saying no to that.
I was the LeBron James factor was interesting, right? If you promised me I could get a big billboard like LeBron had, right? I'll seriously.
The next Nike campaign. The next Nike witness campaign.
Yeah.
Mark my words right here. If Shedeur gets drafted there, that's the next Nike campaign. I can literally see it because that's how Nike is. Yeah. That's what they do. Oh, it's so I'm losing it. I'm so excited.
This is the branding and marketing part that's going.
Yeah.
For like your wheels are spinning.
100%. And who likes branding and marketing? Right. The Sanders family.
They do. They do. At the end of the day, it's Cleveland, right? It's Cleveland. So if you ask me if I'd rather be in Cleveland or New York, put me in the Big Apple, baby.
Yeah, listen, you can live in Cleveland during the football season, and you can live in Miami in the off season. You're going to spend less money. Ohio's got better tax situation. Your money's going to go further. New York's the highest paid, top 5 in taxes in the country. So listen, you got other benefits too, baby.
This is my last question in regards. And I'm gonna leave.
I like this role playing. By the way,
I'm leaving this meeting after this, right?
Okay.
Johnny Manziel Baker Mayfield. The list goes on and on of quarterbacks that the Cleveland Browns have drafted. And none of them have panned out. What are y'all going to do differently for me to make sure this situation works?
We're redshirting you. Something we didn't do for any of those guys. And quite frankly, you are significantly more talented than any of those dudes ever were. You worked harder, and you wanted it more. Period. So I know for a fact, if Shedeur gets a redshirt year, if you get a redshirt year, I can see the Lombardi right now. And oh my word, that witness campaign is going to be beautiful. So Shedeur, come on, let's go win a Lombardi.
Okay. Good answer. I'll do this. I'll have my people call your people, right?
Nah, no people. I want a deal now.
I'm on my way to New York. I got to hear what they're talking about, too.
have fun with Joe Sheen. Just saying.
But listen, we made that conversation about Shedeur, and I think this is a great time to pivot to Shedeur Sanders overall, because there's a lot of discourse about Shedeur. We're talking about Shedeur going number 2 overall. Some people are saying he won't go into the second round. Right? There are questions about his character, who he is as a person, his father being implemented into that. And I want to have the conversation about Shedeur Sanders and why do you, me, we believe that this discourse is taking a path that we don't feel like it's been taken with other guys, going to the draft to the NFL.
I think even so much so with him and Cam Ward, right? They're working out of the same facilities. They do a podcast. They're doing videos together. Like, they're doing 90% of the off-season stuff they're doing together. Like talking, posting, doing. Cam didn't do any of the stuff at the Combine. Just like there's very few things that are different as far as their off-season, right? And I can't help but think that the major difference is that people just don't like Deion. And it's getting projected on to Shedeur. And I think, I can't remember if it was Stephen A. that I was watching talk about this. And with the exception of the time, what has he ever done that you could kind of write off as obnoxious or arrogant? And I love that because I love my athletes to do that. But that's the only thing that he's ever really done that you could possibly misconstrue as like, oh, he's arrogant or this. I'm struggling with the projection of who Deion is. And how much pressure, quite frankly, Deion has put on Shedeur, and Shedeur has risen to the occasion. Like, I think that's the part that, and maybe it's because I got a loudmouth dad myself. I do. I got a dad who's cocky as shit, but he backs it up. And he taught my brother and I to be the same. But he put us in a lot of tough situations by running his mouth.
Right.
But you learn really quickly, you got to be able to back it up. You do. And what has Shedeur done other than flip a program at Jackson State, flip a program at Colorado? Like, who cared about Colorado this time 2 years ago? Nobody. This was a horrible team. They won 1 game. They were not a team that was getting talked about. They didn't have the television rating. Like, they have changed college football in a major way. And I honestly can't. The race card is a big part of it. We know that happens to all black quarterbacks. But this one, I think, has an extra layer of BS because of Deion. And he's not his dad. And if anything, you should have sympathy for him because he's had to literally just sit there and back up what his dad says because his dad's not playing the damn games.
Right.
And I don't get it. I don't know what more you can ask for the kid. He's clean cut. He's good looking. He does everything right. He had a horrible offensive line. Like, he didn't make excuses. He didn't. I don't know what else y'all want from him. Honestly, I don't. And I think he's handled himself very well and very maturely at every step of the way, including when getting interviewed on NFL Network in one of the worst interviews I've ever seen and some of the dumbest shit that's ever come out of a reporter's mouth. Literally. And like, that's the shit that if I was a kid, like, I'd want to run my mouth back, and it's hard not to. And he never has. So I don't know, Keith. I think it's a very tough thing to diagnose in totality, but when I hear Mina Kimes say there is a gigantic gap between QB1 and QB2, I want you to check the tape, Mina, because I don't really get that at all. I don't.
Yeah, so everything you said, I agree with, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the very beginning, right?
For sure.
And it's going to be a quarterback conversation. It's going to be a black quarterback conversation, but it's also going to be a NFL conversation, right? And what we've noticed, right, over the years and just since we've been alive, the NFL has been very slow to embrace, I'll call it urban culture.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's a great way great way to phrase it. And the reason I say that is because remember the years of Chad Ochocinco dancing in the end zone.
Yep.
And he was labeled idiot, bad culture guy, all of these different things, right?
Fines, flags, all that.
A me first person. And then 10 years later, they want to embrace dancing, right? And they promote that in the NFL and Gritty and Justin Jefferson, and that's now part of their branding, right? 15 years later, after they already killed Chad Ochocinco's opportunities and what he could have done if they would have just branded him properly.
And you've got little white kids, okay?
Doing it.
All in rural towns, literally in rural towns grittying.
Yep.
That's the impact of what that is.
Yep.
So I just ridiculous, honestly. The no fun league, that's what they were called in that era.
Yep. And then you go from there to now, let's talk about the black quarterbacks, right? And I think the most recent guy that I'll say was kind of this brash was Cam Newton.
Yeah.
The Cam Newton, right? And I go back to, I remember watching First Take, and this might have been 7-8 years ago.
Okay.
And I don't know if you remember this incident, but this was when Cam Newton was peak Cam Newton. I'm talking about carrying the Carolina Panthers.
On his back.
League MVP, Super Bowl appearance. And he would do the dab, the Dougie, right, when he would score his touchdowns. And then do you remember the big conversation that came out of one of his touchdown celebrations? Because he might have did the Dougie, right? And there was a woman that wrote the Carolina Panthers and said that she doesn't like her quarterback gyrating in front of her daughter, right? I
do remember that.
And so taking it back to that. And
ridiculous.
Yeah, and instead of the NFL having Cam Newton's back, right, they kind of placed it and prefaced it that he was doing something wrong.
Yeah, too much.
Yeah, doing too much.
Being too black.
Yeah, and then now I go to Shedeur Sanders, right? You talk about putting the wrist in front of the camera, talking back to defenders, right? If they talk shit, I'm talking shit back. Him setting the tone in the temple that, no, we're going to whip everybody's ass, right? And the thing is that he has a defensive back mentality at quarterback.
Yeah.
The NFL historically, they don't like that stuff, right? They want their quarterbacks to kind of be preacher boys and to be clean cut and not say anything, say all the right things, right? But then if we get a glimpse on NFL films where a quarterback is talking shit, we eat that type of stuff up, right?
Yeah.
And so,
which is rich when you think about his mentor.
Yeah.
And the greatest quarterback of all time, Tom Brady.
Yep.
Who talked more shit than any quarterback that's ever played the game. And when he got drafted in the, 6th round, went to Robert Kraft and told him to his face, the owner of the team, this is the best decision you'll ever make. That's the cockiest shit I have ever heard. Literally. Yeah. It's the cockiest shit of all time. And that's his mentor.
Yeah.
So who do you think is coaching him and teaching him on top of Deion to act like that? And I ask you this, and I know I want you to finish your point, but as a football fan, I fundamentally have and it's not even a hard time. I don't get you. I don't get football fans who don't want their quarterback to be cocky as shit. You realize that is exactly what you want from your quarterback. If your quarterback is not confident in himself, you don't have a good quarterback.
Yeah.
Literally, I don't understand. It genuinely, fundamentally, I don't get it, Keith. Because you have to have confidence to stand back there, to take those hits, to make the throws, to do the things it takes to be great. I genuinely don't understand it. I don't.
Yeah, and that's why I go back to the culture thing is because, now of recent, right, we've had black quarterbacks that have dominated the NFL, right?
Yeah,
but
for sure.
10, 15 years ago when we were teenagers, it was a couple guys, right? Michael Vick, Donovan McNabb. It'll be a couple sprinkle, but now you're seeing
a lot more.
Yeah, this is the most by far, right?
100%.
And so I think the NFL, some of the fans, some of the specifically media, right? They're having a difficult time with these guys dictating pace and saying that we're not playing your game because you talk shit about us, we're holding you accountable. And I think that's a large part of the problem is that the media, they're used to talking shit, but nobody holds them accountable when we get into the locker room. And I don't want to do the press conference. I don't have nothing to say to you. You want to be brash in the asshole? I'm going to be brash in the asshole right back 100%. To you. And I think that's completely fair across the board, right? You go back to the LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith thing. You talk shit about my son, I have the right to walk up on you and tell you, cut that shit out. That's just how it goes, right? And so I take it to the Shedeur thing, and I say that I think that's the issue. That it's and I wouldn't even call him brash. It's the honest.
I don't find him brash at all.
It's the honest part of it, and I think the media has an issue with that. And
it's, you know what it is though? It's because the people that have a tough time with it, you lack confidence in yourself. That's the truth. If you find him intimidating or brash, it's because you lack confidence in yourself. That's a lot of people in media. We've experienced this, and I think that's the part where, as a former athlete, myself and you, we understand what it takes to win. And when you win, you understand what that feels like, what it feels like to be a part of winning culture. When I was covering the Cardinals, what it felt like after a win versus a loss, night and day. You don't ever want to feel like what it feels like after a loss. It's the worst feeling. And those are the people you want around you. And that's the type of person that Shedeur is. So I genuinely, I think what you brought up about the media is a very good point, because I've told you this a bunch. The thing that's been lost in media now is when I wrote something or tweeted something and I went to practice the next day, I had to see all those guys face to face. So if I said some weak ass shit on the internet or couldn't back it up, they were going to come talk to me. The internet and the rise of media on the internet has created an environment where a lot of people could talk a lot of shit without ever having to actually interact with people. And that fundamentally is a problem, not just in sports, across everything. And it's like, do you really think these dudes who we've seen would be saying the shit they say about these players and then going to see them the next day in the locker room? Ain't a chance in hell. Ain't a chance in hell. And I think both you and I have talked about the role of our parents and our grandparents in our lives and like just teaching respect, right? And I think if we boil it down to one thing, there's a lack of respect across this industry right now. And you better be reminded, the players will always be here. They will always be here. They are the main character. You are not. That's the truth. And people get it twisted that that's not the case. No. The fans are here for the players. We are a vehicle to tell their stories and to embrace and get the information out there. And it has become an absolute shit show of everybody just mocking and making fun of people. And that's not, I don't even know what that is. That is not what I went to. I went to journalism school to tell stories. That's what I went to tell stories, to do journalism. And that's been lost. But it won't be lost on this show. We ain't doing that shit.
Nah,
it's not going to happen.
100%. I have a quote, and it's simple, right? People fear what they do not know.
Yep.
And I think this is where we are. This is yet another pivot point. 'Cause remember, it was just a few years ago where dual-threat quarterbacks, black dual-threat quarterbacks won't be successful in the NFL. Now, for some reason, everybody want a dual-threat quarterback, right?
So much so that we're drafting bad dual-threat quarterbacks. Like, it's gone the opposite way.
It's gone the opposite way, 100%. And Lamar Jackson, I believe, was that pivot point, right, of saying that what he did in college won't work. I think Shedeur Sanders, more so how he carries himself as a quote-unquote NFL franchise quarterback, will be a pivot point for a lot of other quarterbacks following him up.
So I have a question. Have we heard from a teammate about
Him
Shedeur
being
Sanders?
a bad teammate, right? No.
It's the same. It reminds me a lot of the dialogue last year with Caleb Williams. Remember how ugly it got with Caleb? And it was like, who at Oklahoma or USC had a bad thing to say about Caleb? Not one. Their teammates love them. That Caleb showed up right away in a similar, like Chicago and Cleveland got a lot of the same similarities as far as, and showed up and was respectful and made the whole team clean up after themselves for the like just being accountable, being a grown-ass man. That has nothing to do with age. That has nothing to do with age. It has everything to do with how you're raised, mostly. And from everything we've seen from Shedeur, he has been put in the spotlight whether he wanted to or not. That was not his choice. That was his dad's choice.
Yep. I always say that. His daddy put the most pressure on him. He got him prepared for this moment.
Correct.
More than anybody else.
100%.
And he puts more pressure on Shedeur than I think any fan or media or fan base
100%.
or coach or GM or owner. Because he's like, I've been here before. And that's the problem. And I think we talked about this, me, you, and Jamie, is that everybody questions Shedeur is because when people get on camera, they switch up who they are.
Yeah.
Shedeur has been on camera his entire life, so exactly what you see on camera is exactly what you're getting.
Which
because
is what you want. You
want to authentically want to know who you're drafting at quarterback.
You should want authenticity across the board.
Yeah,
that's what's working because people don't even know how to be authentic to themselves anymore. And that's the thing. I think it's a jealousy thing. It's as I said, he's good looking, smart, like comes from a good, he didn't have to struggle to get to where he is. So everybody identifies with that story. Like there's nothing that they can identify with here, right? This is a rich black kid who came from a good fit. Like they got nothing to pick apart or give storylines to other than he's risen to the occasion every time. And I don't understand not getting how much pressure that's been for him because it's insane. To just be in a position to be drafted and have this conversation is crazy.
Yeah.
Literally.
No, it is.
The statistics behind getting to this moment are insane. And the fact that we're picking him apart instead of figuring out all the good things about him is what's wrong with the NFL draft community, quite frankly.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I agree with you on that. And guess what? Being able to deal with pressure, right, and you're talking about the evaluation of a quarterback, that's number one for me. And this guy deals with pressure on the field, and most importantly, he deals with it off the field. Yeah. That's why Shedeur Sanders, go to New York, baby. Go to New York.
Just so we're clear, that's QB1 for me and Keith, too. Just so we're clear.
Let's switch this up, man, to probably one of your least favorite quarterbacks. I have a quote. You ready for this quote?
Oh, boy.
We are the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Ooh, I like this quote.
That's the selling point. That is Cam Hayward. When he was
Cam Hayward, I love you, buddy.
That is Cam Hayward, defensive tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers, when he was asked on a podcast about pitching Aaron Rodgers. And it came off as like, we're not pitching him. If he want to come here, then we'll take him. But if he don't, we're going to kick people ass regardless. And want to talk about Aaron Rodgers and his destinations and places and fits. And we'll get into this. Let's get into this. So I'm going to ask you, him with the Pittsburgh Steelers first. What is your take on that?
So first, I need to react to the Cam thing.
Yeah. Go ahead, react.
So first of all, as a lifelong Chicago Bears fan, I have long told people that they would find out about who Aaron Rodgers was. Because those of us who were in the NFC North knew what an arrogant prick he was. And now everybody knows. And this whole charade of him being the pretty girl at the dance that everybody wants to come talk to is over.
It's over now.
He's not the pretty girl no more. He's not.
It's over with.
He's over with. And I don't know if he's going to end up on a team. That's what I'm talking. That's the level of over with that we're at. And that's where, if I'm Cam Hayward is a guy who's very well respected. This is a vet.
This is a football
player. This
player.
is a football guy and I think he was borderline offended at that question.
I think
quite
so
frankly.
too. What you mean pitch him on?
I'm gonna pitch anybody?
Yeah.
Nah, I ain't doing that shit. This is Pittsburgh, and he's lucky to even be talked about. That's how I took that, and I'm with that because it's ridiculous that Aaron Rodgers needs to be pitched, bro. We're past that point.
So and the other part is this, that Aaron Rodgers, and we don't use this term, but we use it with wide receivers all the time.
Diva.
Right. No, diva, but also culture killers and their locker room. You know the big word, cancers.
Yeah.
They're cancers. And Aaron Rodgers, to be completely honest, he has put himself in that bracket, in that bucket. And if the GMs are not going to say it, if the media is not going to say it, if the NFL teams themselves are not going to say it, the NFL players are showing you exactly how they feel. Because you can't tell me in 2010 if Cam Hayward would have been like, yeah, we'll take Aaron Rodgers, right? Like, I'm willing to rock with it.
Even 4 years ago, coming off the back-to-back MVP years.
They'd have been willing to do it. But now the thing is this, that, and like I said, you talk about this with wide receivers all the time. Does the talent outweigh you doing all the ridiculous shit?
Of course.
Everywhere else. And for the answer for Aaron Rodgers, the answer is no.
No.
Your talent doesn't outweigh you doing ridiculous shit anymore, and nobody's willing to, quote-unquote, kiss your ass, right, to make it to the next, to come in to their locker room. And
You're also the wrong position, Keith. Yeah. Like, you can't, quarterbacks, whether you like it or not, are leaders in the locker room.
Yeah.
You have to be, because you're literally running the whole offense. Mm-hmm. And that's the part that it's like, wide receivers can get away with it. They can get away with it because they want the damn ball all the time.
So, let's talk about this, though. Let's go through it. Can we see him in Pittsburgh?
No.
Aaron Rodgers
I never understood this from the very beginning.
I'm with you.
At all.
I'm out. I'm totally out on it. Let's go Minnesota.
I hate this one. You know why? Because there's some weird, like, NFL narrative BS that this fulfills because of the Brett Favre stuff. Yeah. Like, he fulfills the destiny of following exactly along. Now, the reason...
Which is weird, by the way.
Correct. I'm very strange. If I'm Brett Favre, I'm feeling some type of way. That's all I'm going to say. It's some weird shit. It's very weird. And I don't get it, Aaron. I don't know why you went to New York in general. And if you go to Minnesota, it's borderline a little creepy that you're trying to be Brett Favre.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Brett Favre, I'm sitting there, I'm telling everybody, see, this is why I didn't mentor his ass. He weird. That's what I'm saying. This guy's weird. Why did he follow what I did?
And they could not be more opposite.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
100%.
I'm sitting there like, see, told y'all
he was a weirdo.
Yeah,
but I think
a little different. But Minnesota, do you like him there?
Yeah, so the part with Minnesota is I don't like it. And the reason why I don't like it and I don't think it should happen is because we watched a beloved Sam Darnold, okay, who took that team to 14 wins, 13, 14 wins, and they walked away from him. A great teammate, a guy who was in the system, who won this year, who was going to cost around the same amount of money it's going to take to bring Aaron Rodgers in. Significantly younger, who already gelled in the locker room, and you walked away from that. You told your locker room, we believe in J.J. McCarthy. So how are you going to backpedal now and go, nah, we actually believe in Aaron? If you're Justin Jefferson, I am pissed if they bring Aaron Rodgers in. Yeah. After I saw Justin Jefferson, like, after you watch Aaron Rodgers, you're going to try and tell me that I have to believe in that guy?
So,
why?
Yeah, this is why, and
it's
people,
all offensive, honestly.
Yeah, people keep bringing up Minnesota, but this is where Aaron Rodgers is in a new realm, right? Is that he won't be the face of anybody's organization anymore. He may be the most talked about, but if you go to Minnesota, the face of the organization is Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, 100%.
And I go back to last offseason. It might have been one of the first podcasts we recorded when we started Draft Club, right? And it was about Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson arguing on the sideline. Oh, yeah. Remember this? In the offseason, right? And everybody's like, this is healthy, right? And he's showing Garrett Wilson what to do, right? The savvy vet, the experienced guy. He's showing, well, guess what? Garrett Wilson ain't Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson has proven himself to be a big dog already. This is my team. This is my organization. So I'd be damned if you come on the sideline and tell me what goddamn route I got to run, right? Ain't happening. No. I didn't mess up. You messed up. How many Pro Bowls have I been to? How many All-Pros have I been to? Who are they saying is the best wide receiver? Me. So you better get on my track, right? And listen to what the hell I'm saying. I've had multiple quarterbacks in Minnesota and made both of those guys Pro Bowl quarterbacks. So you might want to follow me. So that's why I'm looking at this and I'm like, nah, this ain't the same.
And there's something you said there that triggered something else for me. So one of the main reasons why the Green Bay time frame ended the way that it did, right, was because Aaron wanted more control of the offense. Okay? He wanted LaFleur to start running, and it started to have some friction. You think Kevin O'Connell is going to listen to Aaron Rodgers?
Right.
It ain't happening.
No.
Kevin O'Connell was a quarterback. Kevin O'Connell literally just turned Sam Darnold, the guy who was I'm seeing ghosts, into a $40 million quarterback.
Yep, got him paid.
Yeah, you really think that man, that's the other component of this is Aaron wants what he can't have anymore. One, he's not the MVP quarterback. He's 40 or 41 years old at this juncture. He's coming off of he had a above average back half of the year. Slightly above average. You're not paying for slightly above average. Yeah. You're going to be paying him to be Aaron Rodgers, and he's not that guy anymore. Yeah, it's just not also happening.
Slightly above average people can't go on trips and skip training camps. They can't do whatever the hell they want to do. They can't say whatever the hell they want to say. They can't pop up on Pat McAfee and say different things throughout the week. Slightly average people, you know what they do? They show their ass up to work and shut the hell up every single day. So if that's what we want to do, that's where you have to live at,
and
right?
And you know he ain't going to do that.
Yeah, he's not going to do that. So
he
that's
wants to go on an ayahuasca retreat. He wants to freaking not show up to training camp. He wants to do whatever he damn pleases, and I got a place for that. The UFL. Have fun.
Oh, my God.
You heard it. Go on down to Birmingham, baby, and you can call all the damn shots you want, Aaron, but that time is over. And the NFL will get you, though. Yeah. It comes for everybody. Father time comes for everybody. And it's, with the exception of Tom Brady, who's not a real person. He's a cyborg, okay? It's just, he's the only one. Because we saw this happen to Peyton Manning. 1 year literally setting every record as the quarterback, and then next year being called noodle arm in the Super Bowl.
Couldn't throw the football.
Happened that fast.
Yep.
And Aaron Rodgers came off of a very, very tough injury. And I don't want to underplay that. It's a big part of this. But I get why for him, his pride, it's hard to walk away from the game right now. I get it. But he's going to have to humble himself. And I thought he had until this started, until free agency came, and I realized, he still thinks he's the hot girl, and he's going to get what he wants. He is not coming to the table going, I've learned something. This time in New York humbled me. And that's what I wanted to see from him, because I do want to see the greatness, because I like watching greatness in sports in general. But I don't think that can happen without him humbling himself. I don't.
So I'm going to when we go back to the very beginning of this podcast, the best spot for him is Cleveland.
Yeah.
Cleveland, you're probably going to have the most leverage.
Yep.
They're going to be the most happy to have you there because they haven't had a good quarterback in 60 years.
And they have a good offensive line. They got a good running game. They got I think it's a good setup for him.
Yep. I think that's his best spot. If he wants the most leverage, that's his best spot. Let's go to our guy, right? Let Russ cook. Right? Some destinations for Russell Wilson. I'm going to start off the top. I think my best destination for him going back to Pittsburgh. We've said this before. They didn't have a Russell Wilson problem. They have, one, an offensive coordinator problem. And then, two, they had a wide receiver problem. So they have to revamp things. Najee Harris, what is now a Los Angeles Charger, I believe. Yep. So they have to get running backs back in there. They traded for DK Metcalf. The second spot that I sneakily like is the New York Giants. I think the same preference to what we talked about the Cleveland Browns doing. I think the Giants could do it. If Cleveland skips on a quarterback, I think they can go get Russell Wilson and then draft a young quarterback. And I think Russell Wilson, because he cares about how people feel about him, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
He's going to handle it the right way, the young
100%.
guy. I don't think he's going to be a hater. He's a made man. Sierra's his wife, right?
He also participated in one of these back in the day.
Right. Yep, 100%. So I'll go with Pittsburgh first for Russell Wilson, and then the New York Giants.
Okay. So I am going to speak directly to Pittsburgh and their fans. Pittsburgh, why on God's green earth do you want the older, worse quarterback who did not play in your system, who has a bad attitude, and has proven that he is a cancer in the locker room? Again, I will ask you, why the hell do you want him over Russell Wilson? I genuinely feel like we're living in the Twilight Zone, and I'm sitting there going, why? I genuinely don't understand why it's even being discussed. Russell Wilson was a very good quarterback when he came in during what was a very tough situation because Justin Fields had that team playing very well. They were winning games. They came out. They looked better. Mike Tomlin came to the mic and said, that's why I get paid and not y'all.
I get paid the big bucks, baby.
Okay? And I'm just sitting there and I'm going, the team was in a good spot. And even with George Pickens, right, it's still a below average wide receiver room.
Oh, 100%.
And then he didn't play for 4 games. And that's when they sputtered. And it's like, yeah, no shit they sputtered because he didn't have anybody to throw the damn ball to. Like, I don't understand what we're, like, this is ridiculous.
They lost in the first round of the playoffs, and the Pittsburgh Steelers fans have been mad because they keep losing in the first round of the playoffs.
Tough scene.
Well, the problem is, y'all have a first round of the playoffs roster. That's why you keep losing. Sometimes you get what you put in, right?
Yeah,
That's how good y'all are. Y'all are first round of the playoffs worthy. So I'm definitely with you on all points with that with Russell Wilson.
I honestly feel like it's so obvious. Like I genuinely, he's already spent a year in the system, so he's going to come back. You're going to have another year of continuity, which matters. It matters a lot. You guys think like, oh, let's just trade pieces out like they're not learning a whole damn language when they have to get there.
This is another thing. I think Russell has a couple more years left in him, right?
Oh, Creed.
So you sit there. They brought DK Metcalf over, right? Mm-hmm. And that's another sign that the front office, they agree with us too. That's why they went and gave DK Metcalf $100 million. 100%. They said, our wide receiver core is not that good. So you do this. You bring Russell Wilson back. You let him and DK pair back up together, right? And then you still have the opportunity to go draft one of these quarterbacks. If you want to draft him in the first round or you want to draft him in the second round, get Jalen Milroe, sit him behind Russell Wilson. Get Jackson Dart. Get Quinn Ewers, right? Get Dylan Gabriel. Get Will Howard from Ohio State, who's literally from the state of Pennsylvania, and let him sit behind Russell Wilson for a year or two. And then now you're set up for the future and for that transition.
Yeah, and I don't want to hear about Mason Rudolph, respectfully.
Yeah,
I just don't.
I just
Pittsburgh Steelers fans, like I heard that on that podcast with Cam Hayward, and I went, yeah, no. Like you're you're not running it back in a division with Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, and you look around and you go, yeah, we're running Mason. Yeah. It's not happening.
You tried it already.
Yeah, and like respect, like that would be disrespectful to the fan base, quite frankly. Like if you guys are okay with that, that can't be the plan. Not when Russell Wilson is sitting there and wants to actively be on that team, right? I think I'm bordering on a little disrespected for Russ at this point that this isn't done. And I hate for him if this is really about waiting around for Aaron Rodgers, because I really fundamentally do not get that. And I just don't see Mike T wanting him there. Yeah. I really don't. Because I'm trying to imagine a loss. Okay, I'm trying to think. It's a Monday Night Football game. Okay, they play Baltimore. It's a tough game. Come out. Aaron says something spicy at the fucking mic. Okay, just add whatever stupidity comes out of his mouth. And then Mike T comes to the mic after and gets asked about it. Ooh, I kind of want that just for that moment, just to see what that was like. But it's because we know Mike T, like, he ain't dealing with that shit.
Yeah, no, he's going to call it for what it is. Like, if it's stupid shit, he going to say, that's stupid shit.
Yeah, 100%. Like, he might be liable to bring him out to make fun of him in front of the press.
Yeah, we don't do that here.
We don't do that here. This is Pittsburgh, and we are serious. Like, I can't see them kowtowing to him and his demands. Like, oh, I need a month. Oh, you need a month? We're the Steelers, bro. Yeah. Literally. Like, who do you think you are? Yep. Literally, that's how I feel, and I felt that energy from Cam Hayward. And if you're the front office, you gotta pay attention to that.
Yep.
Because like that's a big voice in your locker room, and he told you exactly what he thought about the situation. Yep. And I can't imagine that they didn't hear it. Yeah, can't imagine.
There's faces of franchises, and then there's faces of locker rooms.
Yeah.
Cam Hayward is the face of that locker room.
100%.
Point blank period.
Lock Russell Wilson to Pittsburgh, and let's stop dancing around it. Stop dancing around it.
Well, there we go. Let's stop dancing, Pittsburgh. You know what we have to do. But that wraps up this episode of Draft Club. Back in person, live in studio. We got our girl Mel back there running the ones and twos. And listen, I'm Keith Sanchez. That's Paige Dimakos. This is Draft Club. Players only.